I hooked up the 4K camera for this. Oh yeah. One more again. It's on. Shouts out to Kwame Brown Bus Life. Because see, if it wasn't for Kwame Brown really shattering Stephen A. Smith's mask, none of these people really would be speaking out about Stephen A. Smith. None of these people had the gall to say anything about Stephen A. Smith, besides other people who are on the internet who had never had a privileged position to be at a major network. Okay? Nobody was saying anything about it. He was protected. Nobody would see, they would have these same sentiments that they would think about and go, yes, finally, someone is saying it. But they would never ever open their mouths to speak about Stephen A. Smith. Now, when he worked for Philadelphia, when he was doing radio or whatever, they used to call him what? Screaming A. Smith. That's what they used to call him, Screaming A. Smith. That was his little tagline that they gave him before ESPN. You were known as Screaming A. Smith. Now, we could always, play the innuendo game and say, oh, well, he didn't mean that, or this didn't mean this. And, anybody can do that, right? Right? We could all do that. But to sit there and say egregiously that anybody was sticking up or going after Stephen A. Smith at that time, they would not speak up. There were many people who disagreed with how he was doing things, players, and wholeheartedly, and no one was speaking up. They let it ride. Now, Stephen A seems to have a bit of a memory loss. He seems to believe that it was his journalism and his journalistic integrity is what got him here. No, you started off as a journalist and it got you fired. Got you fired for the newspaper you were writing for. That's when you were a journalist. You were never a journalist for ESPN. You never were. You stopped being a journalist back then and became a hack. That's what you became. Now, Stephen A. Smith and Dan Le Batard, he felt Dan didn't feel this way back when Dan was at ESPN. Dan was holding this in because this is what another thing about Stephen A. that irritates me. He tries to play off your ignorance. What Stephen A. Smith tries to do is make it look as if all of you guys out there in the world are ignorant. That's right. Hit the like button, good people. I understand that y'all probably not going to get the notification for this. Blah, blah, blah. It is what it is. It is a late night live stream, but I figure y'all should have this rather than not have it. Now, he believes that in his infinite wisdom, it was his journalistic integrity that got him to this point. Nothing more, nothing less. Him being a journalist is what got him to where it is. And it's not true. It is not true. He is a hack. And he made it by being a hack. And it's okay that you made it being a hack. You found a new way, you pivoted and went with a new flow. So your journalistic views isn't what got you on ESPN. You see, there was some words that were said that shouldn't have been said and made no sense for it to be said. And it was presented on that show. Now, because it was on that show, it really echoed a lot with what other people were thinking themselves. You see, when Stephen A first got there, they was like, okay, we got another Stuart Scott. Scott was a journalist. No matter what kind of metaphors he came up with, or rap analogies, or hip hop slang, or whatever he did, he was a core journalist at heart. He didn't have to disrespect anybody. He didn't have to take shortcuts. He was a pure journalist. And every time he spoke to you, Stephen A, he spoke to you on how to survive at ESPN, playing their game and beating them at it, and his work ethic. But don't compromise who you are. Stay within the numbers. Do your job and enjoy it, because this is a position that many people don't get a chance to ever be at. So you have to be very good at it. Own it. That's what he told you, man. Own this. Stuart Scott went blind in one eye when he got hit with that football doing a bit for ESPN. And he ended up gradually losing sight in his eye. Couldn't see. So he would have to memorize his monologues because he didn't want to lose his sports center spot. He didn't want to lose that seat because there's somebody out there waiting to take it. That's the man who sat there and said, you're the next guy they want to take this spot or get in this position. Okay, well, let me show you what it takes. So, with all of these things that's going on, you felt you were man enough to step up, and I'm Stephen A. Smith. I'm popular. I got a voice. I matter. Well, they showed you how much you didn't matter. They said, well, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're willing to do. We're going to take away every single thing that you find dear to your heart. We're going to remove it. And they let you go. They fired Stephen A. Smith. They say, well, your quite frankly show isn't doing all that. Oh, you're going to talk to us? Bzz, the plug was pulled. Stephen A. still to this day saying he doesn't know who the person was that was hating on him behind the scenes and got him fired. He just recently stated this just a few weeks ago on his No Mercy podcast show. Now, Stephen A. Smith has arrived to a point, people, to where Dan Le Batard show, where he had Bomani Jones and his father on the show, they Stephen A. basically said he watched the show, which I don't know how in the world he found time to do such things. Because I disagree with that wholeheartedly that he watched the show. Let me tell you how this thing came to a head. When Jamel Hill was there and they did their show, his and hers, and they became popular doing this show because ESPN wanted to feature her on their show because they needed some black faces. So they went to their own writing department and said, Jamel Hill, yeah, how do you like to be on television? She never auditioned to be on TV. She never wanted to be on TV. And it was like, no, you'll be fine. Just read that on the screen because it was a big movement about how black analysts weren't getting the opportunity to be on screen, right? So she's a writer and she was comfortable writing. They wanted her to be on screen. She wasn't really comfortable being on screen. So they started putting her in wardrobe, started getting her makeup done, and she didn't have to do it all herself, getting her hair done, putting her on television. And then she got the bug for being on television. She never wanted to be on TV. Now, the his and hers, they got their own show. They're vibing. Then, after what happened there, they get their own segment on Sports Center at 6. They called it The Six. So now they graduate from ESPN2 to the big leagues. Now, because they're in the big leagues now, here comes a whole new section of people that wanted them out. They didn't like this type of new political talk, ESPN. They didn't like it. Sports and politics don't go together, right? They just make up all these new things. And you got people like Clay Travers that came in and did what he did, right? And all of these different people who could come in and say and do things that they want to do, have their views, and that's totally fine. You had a lot of people taking right wing approaches. No one seemed to care. That was all okay. Will Kane could come in and say all the right wing agenda things that he wanted to say. Nobody said a word. You knew it was right wing when you heard it. Then where did he end up? On Fox. Not Fox. He's on Fox News, not Fox Sports. Fox News. So you know who, right? Who knew, right? We all did. Nobody said nothing to Will King. Now, everyone has their own innuendos about the situation. Oh yeah, things went left relatively fast in the situation because it never gotten better. You see, when people set out to try to take you down or take things out of what you do, take credit away from you, it weakens you. Stephen A. Smith, once he was let go, basically from ESPN, he was fired. And was fired without being fired. He was laid off. He was being paid throughout the remainder of his contract, but he had to sit down. And he was humbled. So while he's not allowed to do anything, he's basically fired and relieved of his contract. He's working at CNN from a cubicle, talking about issues, whatever they brought him on. And he's at a cubicle, completely humbled. I think what's that, Tamron Hall? She was working right next to him at CNN. She was like, I can't believe that's Stephen A. Smith working at a cubicle. He had his own talk show like 4 months ago. Now he's at a cubicle here at CNN. That's how far he fell. Then he started doing these segments for Skip Bayless said, I need this guy for this show. And he brought on Skip Bayless. I mean, Skip Bayless brought Stephen A. in on segments when he was literally, basically, he still worked for the company. He was sent home while they just pay him out the rest of his contract. So they start bringing him on for segments. It's like, look, he still works for the company. We might as well use him. So they would call him up like, oh, patch him in. And Stephen A, they would do this back and forth about sports. And the ratings went through the roof with First Take. And people were jealous that a show that was considered to be completely awful for a sports journalistic integrity. There are plenty of people at ESPN, not just Dan Le Batard, who didn't like First Take. Nobody liked First Take. But First Take was keeping the lights on. And that was good for the network. And it went from being just another show on there and other shows going on there to being their flagship show, which Sports Center used to be this flagship show of ESPN. Now, First Take is the flagship show. It's like, let's First Take is this show. Stamp that. So now First Take is ruling. It's running everything. Absolutely. So now that First Take is running the show, what else were they going to do? They were going to move in a way that was not agreeable with the majority or the masses of the people who were there. Absolutely. So he had a great relationship with Skip Bayless, where they would work back and forth, and Skip got him back in the door so that they could renegotiate a contract with Stephen A. Smith and get him signed and said, you know what, you worked yourself back. He worked himself back in position. Dan Le Batard show, quite frankly, not quite frankly, what was it? What was Dan Le Batard's show? Highly questionable. That's what it was. Now, highly questionable with his Bomani Jones, Dan Le Batard. Bomani Jones is the one I listen to the most on the show, but he's intelligent, and intelligent is not always respected on the show. It just isn't. A lot of people don't respect intelligence. So to see it play out the way it did, it was quite confusing for a time. That's right. The super chat work. Hit the like button, subscribe to the page, hit the notification bell. This is a late night live stream. I have to give you the full background story so you can know before we just get into what's really going on here and lay it all out for you guys. We have to give you the whole layout so that you would understand what this is that is happening right before your eyes. Now, Stephen A became a big figure at ESPN now. Now he's got a big office. Now he's able to take over. In 2016, when Skip Bayless decided he was leaving ESPN and First Take and going to start his other show with the creator of First Take, Jamie Horowitz, they were going over to Fox. And they took a lot of ESPN brass with them when they went over to Fox. Skip Bayless was one of the biggest pieces. So First Take was going to remain. And now Stephen A. Smith is forced to be the face of this network. So they have to re-up and give him a deal to keep him satisfied and don't go over with Skip Bayless. So they made him executive producer of First Take. They said, you're going to be executive producer of the show. So you're going to get an EP credit and you're going to be, we're going to sign, you're going to make like $8 million a year. But this means you're going to have more responsibility, Sports Center, NBA Countdown. You're going to be the guy for all of it. So he knew not to rock the boat ever again. And that's what he did. He never rocked the boat ever again in life. He was like, I was a Negro when I first got here. Now I ain't gonna never rock the boat again. And he didn't. He made sure. He made effing sure he was never going to do that ever again. Now, Dan Le Batard, his show has got an audience. People actually like listening to him. He has a core audience. People like some of the takes that they did. Like I said, I like Bomani Jones. I listened to the show a couple times. Dan Le Batard, to me, he was okay. But everybody liked his Pops. Pops would just keep things short and say things that remind you of people who had takes at like a family gathering. Where if someone's talking smart and they're putting you to sleep, you have Pops come in there and give some short levity to the situation. Now, when you look at the layout of how they perform, meaning not they, but the actual system itself, if you look at how it's laid out and how it's performed, you see that highly questionable was a much more, retention with interaction with people that listen to sports radio. So it did quite well with its audience. People loved it, highly reviewed, but more of the social media attention, most of the focus was on First Take. And it was more of a shouting match when someone else comes on there more than it was a debate. There wasn't really a point made, it was more of an argument on national television. Max Kellerman, who is a journalist, sports journalist, mostly boxing, is friends with a lot of those people at ESPN. Once Max was on the show, Stephen A. did not want to select Max, but he didn't have the power to have Max fired. ESPN said, "This is your host, and that's it." So, as they went along with this merry-go-round for about 2, 3 years, he once again brought up that I need a better partner. Max, just for First Take, we're not a good dance partner. This is not working. This dynamic of me versus him isn't working. We need a new dynamic. So that shifted. That shifted from Max and all the people that respected Max, who was an intelligent man. And it's like, why are you having to denigrate yourself like this? And he's like, hey, it's a check. But I do get to be a journalist, on other shows. But here, when I got a debate, and they kept working on Max, like, Max, you got to be a dog. And they were using my video as reference. Stephen A. Smith played him one of my videos. You see, at one point, I was making like hundreds of thousands of views on videos, right? So my videos is one of the top watched videos, period. And Stephen A. Smith pointed out a video and said to Max Kellerman, and said, see, it ain't just me. This is what the people are saying. The people are saying it. Look how many views he's got. They're in agreement. I've read the comment section. Look at this. They're in agreement. And everything he said in this video is everything I told you guys. That's the dynamic of why it doesn't work. And he's a viewer and he sees it. Why is Max still here? I need another host. So what they decided to do was, we're not going to let a YouTuber determine what we're going to do here at ESPN. As it was told to Stephen A. Stephen A., we're not making the change. We're not going to let someone on YouTube tell us how to move our personnel. So what they did was tell Max Kellerman, Max, you heard what the problem is. It was on that YouTube video. And we're going to say that's a fair point. You don't seem to have a connection to anything. You don't have a real connection with one team. You're not really passionate about any of this. And it's just a discussion with you, and it goes in and it goes out, and the fans can see it. We need you to have some passion about these discussions. More passion. All right, there we go. He's got it now. He just didn't know what you meant. It's more passion. So Max starts screaming on the show. Max Kellerman's literally screaming during the takes. absolutely screaming. So now that he's screaming, people are saying, well, damn, okay, that'll eliminate the popping sound. So while he's screaming, everybody is like, man, dude was just screaming at the top of his lungs. He was just going off and doing all this crazy ish. I don't get it. What's the problem? What is blah, 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 blah? Everyone had an opinion. Everybody was an expert, but Max sounded crazy. And I said, screaming does not mean passion, just means you're yelling. And it didn't make for good television. So he had to find a balance. And I felt that they reached something that they could work with, but it became more combative because Max didn't like Stephen A anymore. Because here's a guy, he felt like he's threatened by me because I'm smarter than him. He can't pull off I'm the smart guy in the room tactic with Max Kellerman. Max is smarter than him. There isn't a word that Stephen A uses that Max don't understand and don't know. And the more he talks, the more Max is giving him the look, and he looks back and he recognizes like he's not going for my bull. He knows I'm just faking. I can't have a guy that knows that I'm phony. I need a guy that don't know anything about it. They might think I'm smart. So he needs somebody who's going to believe that he's smart. He needs someone around him who's going to make him feel important at all times. So that's why Max was gone. Now, Dan Le Batard was making $3 million a year at ESPN. And while he was at ESPN, he was constantly in trouble because he would say something on his show that some of the producers at ESPN did not agree with. It was brought up a lot at ESPN about him, talking about the net worth and all of these different subjects that was brought up. And Stephen A in his argument saying, you never talked about this when you was at ESPN. Stephen A, stop. Come on. Y'all have it in y'all contract. You're not allowed to discuss anything about any employee at ESPN while working there. You cannot. You cannot talk about another colleague. So I didn't know how Michelle Beadle was able to not get in trouble for talking about Stephen A when she thought he was taking up for Ray Rice, and he got suspended. So Dan Le Batard's argument, people, was the fact that he's saying, "Hey, I know First Take is y'all baby, but other shows need some promotion too. We need some attention. A lot of people here. We need some staff. We need some marketing. We need some work on our show. We have a good show here. How about supporting this show?" And he felt like all of it was going towards First Take, and it became more and more of a circus at First Take. And it was like, well, First Take is number one. Yeah, and nah. Because what happened is they started making baby first takes. And this is where Dan Le Batard problem came in at. It was like first take, and then we got first take mini junior, all these other shows that started to come off that was basically first take with different casts everywhere. And now it's on Fox, and now they got first takes, and now everybody else is making first takes everywhere. And now it's like, okay, now this whole one show has led to the demise of sports journalism. Now it's just a bunch of just dumb takes on sports, and it's this show is dumbed down. And he's right. That show, First Take, was the start of dumbing down the audience. It wasn't smart take. It became dumb take. And Skip Bayless is who he couldn't stand. Dan Le Batard couldn't stand Skip Bayless and what he was doing with First Take. So Stephen A. Smith, he had some respect for, but didn't like First Take. And he let him know, I don't like that show. I don't like this is dumbed down. And Stephen A. Smith's argument is that your show is a debate show too, which it wasn't. That's the truth. It really wasn't. But Stephen A. didn't know. And he was like, oh, you want to talk about comfortable? Wasn't that you with your dad on the show? Giving him a hug and a kiss every day? Wasn't that comfortable? That was you. And y'all debated. So that was the take that really got Stephen A. going, is that somebody spoke out against him, and now he feels he's big enough. He can come out and say something. But do you know why he's saying something now? Because Dan Le Batard left and has one of the best podcast shows in sports, or highest rated. Yeah, Dan Le Batard has one of the highest rated sports shows out there because he actually has the integrity to have a conversation and give an intelligent take on a show. They actually have a real staff of people that know what they're doing. So the shows are a lot better than even when they were on ESPN. If some of the episodes on the podcast that they were talking about certain issues, you don't get a fan perspective on it. You get a real journalistic integrity, a real balance when you look at a whole, rather than just what's up, John? I see you. Oh yeah, all together, all around, you start to see the whole thing play out for what it is, and then you start to understand it a lot better than what you did prior. Previously, this was something entirely different than what it has come to now. For instance, Dan Le Batard came out and just said he had a problem with First Take when he was on his show, and Stephen A. Smith came out and blasted the show again. Then he did it 4 months later on his new podcast show, No Mercy. He's cursing now. He's the man. But what Stephen A. Smith is really doing is keep creating attention for his No Mercy podcast show. You see, this is why he's rehashing it. He needs something to get him going. Dan Le Batard has a deal with DraftKings that pays him $50 million. Hello. A $50 million DraftKings deal. That's what got Stephen A's attention. Because he's like, oh, if Dan Le Batard could get 50 million, I know I could get at least 80, 85 to 100 million on my podcast show. I better get to work. That's why he's been grinding like bricks. He like every night, Stephen A, what's up, America? And he's out there talking, just him. He wants that money. And this was like 2 years ago. He got that money. 50 million for 3 years? Dan Le Batard is next year. He's in for renegotiation right now. So this is a good time to talk about ESPN. Because now you're in a contract year. You're like a player. And he got the cocaine captain with him, baby, John Skipper, the former president of ESPN, is backing Dan Le Batard. Pat McAfee had like the same deal over with FanDuel. You see, gambling platforms has changed the game as far as sports media companies are concerned. As sports gambling increasingly become like legal across the country, its prevalence in media is growing. You're seeing like what they had, DraftKings, FanDuel. Now you got Underdog Fantasy, you got Bally Sports, and you got the Sinclair ownership. Fox Sports they got Fox Bet. Um, they have the National Gaming with Penn's National Gaming. Remember that? And now you have Barstool Sports. You can go on and on. These gambling companies have the money and the resources to throw at the situation because ultimately they want people to sign up. They want people to support the page. Right? They want people to join their betting app. Use our app with your money. Don't go anywhere else. Use our app. Make your money. That's it. That's how they see it. No. The world has never changed. It's like everything is new to a certain point, and then it changes. So I understood what he meant. Oh yeah, Dan Le Batard responded to Stephen A's basic cries because people who like First Take started attacking Dan Le Batard and what Dan had to say about the situation. So, when the Le Batard show came and people started like making their own, you know, decision on what was what, No, Stephen A. didn't do what they were doing on the show. He'd been down that road that they've been down, and he came back and played ball. So he wasn't offended by what Jamel Hill said. That's a nice deflection, Dan, but I wouldn't even have pulled that. No, he's upset with you. Okay, he's upset with you because you had the gall to say him and Skip Bayless ruined sports. That's what he's mad about. He didn't care about that. He knows ESPN want black faces and not black voices. He knows that. You think he don't know where he works? He's a company man. That's all he is. He's like, nobody tells me what to do. Nobody owns me. Oh, yes, they do. That's why you capping for them. He's like a junkyard dog arguing for a company he don't own. That's like me sitting here and arguing with somebody with Nike and Adidas. Man, Nike, woo, boy, we doing it big, boy. Nike got this new shoe, boy. Man, I'm telling you, we doing it big. We. if if I don't own stock in Nike, I shouldn't even be opening my mouth in that conversation. Right. He wakes up with two things on his mind. Exactly. Now, that's when you listen to no. People just don't get it. Dan Le Batard was taking the coward route by throwing Jamel Hill in there, saying, I think he was more bothered at Jamel Hill's statement. If I was him in his position, I would probably be offended by that. No, it's the truth. They wanted black faces, not black voices. They're still like that right now. ESPN stands for every sports person's nightmare. If you like sports, this ain't for you. Seriously, if you like sports, this ain't for you. This buds ain't for you. It has Woj writing for the Trailblazers. Oh my God. Hit the like button, good people. Hit the like button. I swear to y'all, man, this is crazy. It went from a dumb show to being the hood, the embarrassment of the network to the hood ornament. So this is what he's mad about, Dan Le Batard. It ain't about Jamel Hill. Don't throw Jamel Hill in there. But I know why you're doing it. You're trying to say, oh, he won't go after the black woman and put that in there. Is that the dynamic? That's fine if that's the angle you want to play. But let's not be the cowards in the room and speak on what this truly is. You just said about his show that he got that it's an embarrassment, that it's the hood ornament. Your show wasn't that. And you're right. First Take is an embarrassment. It's not about journalism anymore. It's about a screaming match. And that's why he's saying he's always screaming about something. Really demeaning him, but then saying, I love him to death. As they both keep doing to each other, saying, oh, I love the guy. But Stephen A is trying to build himself to an evaluation so that he can get to the level to where everyone else with sports betting. So when FanDuel comes around for that renegotiation of his deal, he wants to get the big money like everybody else is getting. Because ESPN just showed him why he's kissing butt. They just handed the company over to Pat McAfee, and JJ Redick is finna take over. And like he said, Dana White is going around smacking up his wife in 1080p. Like he been doing this every Tuesday and Thursday. When it's time to put an apologist together, the company can't be seen doing that because this is their investment. So they got to send a lapdog out there and talk about how he's friends with Dana White. Oh, Dana's my friend. We go all the way back, and I've never known Dana to do such a thing. So this has to be just some random event. It has to be. You didn't know Dana White when he first got married. He fought his wife on his wedding night. He had a black eye in the photo at the reception. Him and his wife fought all the time. And as you can see, they still fight. And I'm not speaking from firsthand knowledge. I'm speaking from what his mother has said. So before this fight ever took place, Dana White's mother came out and stated that they fought all the time. Yeah, they seem to have knocked everybody out of the chat. I don't know how they were able to do that and what they're doing, but they knocked like everybody out the chat except for you. I guess people got to log off, log back in. I don't know what they did, man. This has been the craziest live stream I've seen. Yeah, he is their lapdog. He does not care. I saw what y'all put, but no, he does not care. Being a lapdog is something he would relish at. First, I thought you was calling me the general manager, Sino. Well, good morning to you too. He said, I even tried to type earlier and it didn't work. I know it's crazy what they're doing to the live stream. Now, now that they've done this and this process has happened, there have been a lot of different analogies that's taken place because of this one interaction with Dan Le Batard. Everybody's saying, oh, this is going to go to the next level. What level is there? It's already at that level. It's already up. He said a word. He said, I want to have a conversation, something that's not performative. Like Stephen A is putting on a show, he's acting. Hmm. Yeah, well, when you move in a certain way, that's how people look at you. If you move in a certain, you carry yourself in a certain position, this is how they're gonna treat you. So when he said performative, that's really gonna help. I mean, hurt Stephen A's feelings. He's like, let's just have a real conversation. What Stephen A. Smith needs to do is just own it. I mean, yep, we dumbed it down. Own it. I mean, because damn it, you're not going to win that argument. Y'all have dumbed down professional sports. You've made these people that watch your show run around with your topic and talking points. They made little baby first takes all over the world. Everybody wants to create a first take where they just yell at each other. And they say that's what people want. Barbershop talk. A lot of people in barbershops don't make a lot of sense. That's why they're not on television. They're in barbershops talking. You know how many dumb conversations I heard while I was in the barbershop? I was so tempted to get involved in the conversation. I was like, let me not. Let me not. You know how many wrong and unfactual statements are made in a barbershop? Exactly. So, barbershop conversations are not normally supposed to be on television. There's a reason for that, good people. I don't think he ruined it. I wouldn't say Dan helped ruin anything. They really didn't promote his show like that anyhow. I mean, Clay Travis was able to talk right wing talk all damn day long. Will Kane, right wing Cowboy fan. ESPN don't care about what I do as long as they try to submerge me down while I'm on YouTube. They're mad because I tagged them in it. That's why the video's been seeing so much negative attention today. It's not because of the time. They'll be like, well, it's because of your time. I can go live at whatever time they say is the worst time to go live and still do the same numbers. It's not about the time. People are up. Trust me. Right. Who didn't know Will Kane would end up on Fox News? Not Fox Sports, Fox News. Exactly. So shouts out to Kwame Brown Bust Life as I started this video off saying, because Kwame Brown was the first one to shatter Stephen A. Smith's mask. And once Kwame came out and was hitting Stephen A. with the fastball down the middle, like he was coming deep with it. That fastball was coming. He was giving them the gas. And he didn't like that. He didn't like it at all. So shouts out to Kwame Brown Bust Life, because once they saw Stephen A. was cut, it was blood in the water, he tried to respond back. I'm going to respond tonight. Oh, I'm finna respond, Kwame Brown. And he going to show basketball clips. People was, man, I thought you was finna say something. Man, you went out like a lame, Stephen A. Because he was nothing he could say. He didn't answer any of the things that Kwame was talking about. And he had to come out and apologize on another show. I would like to apologize if I offended you. I didn't know I hurt him so bad. It was like, no, you apologizing because everybody was getting on your head. They was on your head, Stephen A. Because Kwame was bringing up for 20 years what you were doing and how your show was attacking athletes and everything. And the same thing Dan Le Batard is talking about now. Oh, of course. Dan said some things I don't agree with before, but you know, like he might have made a point, and I was like, that is a dumb analogy, or that I don't agree with that take at all. That's fine. Yeah, I used to call him Dan the Bastard. Le Batard, Dan the Bastard. Dan the Bastard is right back in it again. So yeah, this ain't no, I'm the biggest fan of Dan the Bastard. No, I'm just saying, when it comes to this, he's right. I bet you Jimmy Pitaro has spoken more to Pat McAfee within the past year than he has spoken to Stephen A. Smith. When he get a call from Jimmy Pitaro, it's contract negotiation time. They're getting ready to hand this whole ESPN over to Pat McAfee. Stephen A. is pissed. Pissed. He come through the door making more money than you, walking through the door like, is this ESPN? Whoa. Is this your office? Wow. Thought it'd be bigger. Thanks, Stephen A. I really like it here. Man, this is nuts. Where can I put my bag? Can I just set it here for now? Oh, thanks. Whew. Man, we got a lot of work to do around here. That's how he gonna be in the office. Stephen ain't gonna be here. What's going on here? Oh man, they're gonna be like, meet your new second. I was thinking, on your first take, we're gonna have the first week, we're gonna have him debut on your first take show. He's gonna be your guest, and you're gonna be welcoming him in to ESPN. Yeah. Pat McAfee, baby, we got him. All right, Stephen A., do your job. All right, with my pleasure. I'm bringing up, this man has taken over the internet. And oh my God, what a success. And now he's over here with the best company in the world, ESPN. Oh, there's nothing better than ESPN, baby. Oh, the way they spell my name and write it in cursive on the check. Oh, you can't tell, my God. Huh, welcome. Without further ado, Pat McAfee. Hey, thanks, Stephen A. You still get checks? You've been here a long time. Oh man, I can see this. I can see that playing out just like that. I can see it playing out exactly like that across the board. Oh man, but let me get out of here, man. Love, peace, and hair grease. Thank y'all for listening. Y'all can go to bed.